In this episode, we talk with Laurent Cohen, founder of GetOblic and a longtime entrepreneur in the digital technology space. We discuss his journey from early e-commerce to voice AI, why trust remains the biggest challenge in serving small businesses, and how AI agents are changing the way founders work, learn, and build companies. Welcome to another episode of the Killer Use Case podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Jensen. I'm excited for today. On with us, we have Laurent Cohen from GetOblic. Welcome to the show, Laurent.
Thank you for having me, Hunter. Very excited about the discussion we're going to have.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So to kind of kick things off, maybe how about you just do a little bit of an introduction of your background and who you are and what you do?
54, father of three, born and raised in France. I moved to the US in 2002, which was very interesting because it was right after the internet bubble. And considering that I was a geek from my very young age, it was I've been an entrepreneur since 1993. I started quite young. But in 2002, I really wanted to take a chance for my American dream and also to deep dive into the digital realm of entrepreneurship. So I started with e-commerce. It was a wonderful time. SEO, SEM, the Far West, cowboy and Indians, Yahoo, then Google, and very, very, very interesting. And then by 2020, during COVID, I went back to France because I still had my business in France since 1993. And now I launch for the past 9 months an AI company called GetOblic, and I'm in between Florida and Israel where we have an office.
Okay, quite a journey. So I remember those days, right? Like you could, like keyword stuffing, like still worked, right? You could just put keywords in the same color as the background down at the bottom, and like you could rank.
Yeah, the homepage footer miracle,
That's right. That's right. Those were very prosperous times. All right, so you've been at this for 30 years. What made you think that voice AI for SMB is where you're going to go all in on? Like what made you kind of really decide to go in that direction?
First of all, I very quickly understand that it was probably the hardest way to tackle voice AI or AI in any matter. I mean, I consider it with my experience that selling to medium and large company is way easier in a way. It probably takes longer, but they have team, they understand what's at stake. If you're good enough, if you have a good product, if you have a good sales points, you can get your customers. SMBs are a totally different ballgame. But we're talking about 33 million companies in the US, 100 million all over the world that will probably within 5 to 10 years all be equipped with voice AI that will be replacing their answering machine or chatbots or you name it. So there you have a market for scale that is unbeatable. So since I love scaling, I figured out that I would take the hit initially, but I know that once we get a fit into the market, there's absolutely no limit to play the infinite game.
Yeah, and actually before I ask my next question, why don't you just give a brief overview on what GetOblic really is?
So GetOblic is, I can tell you first what it's not. It's not a SaaS company. That's really what we didn't want to build. Although we are selling a voice AI subscription, which everybody and their mother are doing these days on social media, right? We want to do it totally differently. And again, we had two things in mind, the scalability that I mentioned earlier, and also what I think is the number one reason why people do not sell to SMB is because it's not related to technology, it's related to trust. the trust factor is what is the main hurdle that as a company we need to go through, break as a ceiling wall to sell our product. So in order to do that, we had this awkward idea that may sound like 1997 to build a business directory, right? But we had an age, and our age was to build for each business page on our directory a fully working voice AI. Each of those voice AI pre-trained on the business information and the graph of interaction that we are having in between all companies that are listed. Now we're talking at 1.8 million business listed and therefore 1.8 million fully working AI deployed. Now keep in mind, Hunter, those AI, once deployed, are free. We're not asking for people to be listed in our directory, and we're not asking for them to pay for the AI. What we're asking from them is to come and see what the AI can do for them, interact with it, understand how it works. They can claim their page, they can add the information, which will in turn train the AI even more. And once they're ready, once trust has been built, they can subscribe to the service and get the whole shebang. Virtual phone line, widget for their website, connection to WhatsApp, connection to calendar, everything that a voice AI company is supposed to deliver. But we are focused as a passion and an obsession to building trust with our customers. And in order to do that, we need to deliver the product before they spend a penny.
It's very unique. Well, these days, right? It does feel like a throwback business model to the kind of earlier .com days that we were talking about before. But it's very interesting approach to SMBs, which are notoriously hard to sell to, and hard to keep happy for that matter, right? Like, however, $60 a month means a lot to some small businesses, right? So I'm curious, we've all been on this journey, right? November 2022, ChatGPT comes online. Isn't this neat? Tinker, tinker. Okay, well, maybe we should get serious about this. On your journey, can you think of one or even several like major aha moments where you realize the true power of what like generative AI specifically can deliver? Can you think of any aha moments like that?
I can think of many of those moments and I will pinpoint a few of them. But let me start by the beginning. I do not think you can work in the digital realm and actually in AI if you're not a kid inside, if you're not amazed every single morning with what it achieves. And I can say that I'm still very surprised when I'm talking with friends that are literally not in that game that can consider that watching a generated video becomes normal. I mean, every single time we produce a video, every single time we produce a sound, a voice coming out and literally producing emotion, I'm amazed. I'm like a kid. And this is my drive. Okay. So from that standpoint, pinpointing the kind of things that are those aha moments, I think, first of all, I'm going to have one that's probably make the audience laugh. But the first aha moment I've had was after being locked in with my AI for maybe 14 hours or 15 hours. My AI said, now it's time to go to bed, Laurent. So I don't know if that happened to you. I know that I have to say, because my agents, I call them my agents, and that's how you should be calling them, by the way. I treat them as human resources. I literally have an HR relationship with them. I require that they write me up books, operational books, that I require in PDF. I keep on every other prompt to tell them I need you to give me a safe solution in best practice every single time I repeat those words like I would do with someone working for me. So if that person at 3 a.m. telling me to go to bed, I think that's an aha moment for me. Now, I'm very careful with something else. I've learned very early on when starting the company because, well, first let me start. I thought I was using AI before building the company. Well, I was just playing with it. When you deep dive into what agent can do for you on a daily basis, you go into a territory that really goes beyond anything that I've ever lived in my life. And we're going to have that discussion, I believe, about what AI is and how you need to tackle AI and how you should tackle AI and how you should be also careful with AI. But for me, AI is definitely making me a better worker. It's pushing my boundaries. And in a lot of ways, it's making me a better person. You know, it teaches me patience. It teaches me pushing the envelope as far as it's humanly possible. And it's also teaching me that working with an agent, as smart as it is, needs and require some human judgment. And this is what people do not understand about conversational AI. You know, the layer of emotion that it built with you as a human being kind of blurs the limitation between the machine and the humankind. But in fact, at the end of the day, AI is simply a tool. It's relatively delivering average to mediocre results. And the only thing that you can achieve is adding the human layer on it to push the envelope and get into results that could not have been accessed before. And now, let me tell you something that I like to repeat to everyone, and I really understand maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I compare AI to money. I think both of them are currencies. Money allow you to buy commodities. Money allow you to buy resources, and money allow you to buy status. It's the same with AI. The currency, the tokens, allow you to buy knowledge instead of commodities. AI and its token allow you to buy agent resources, which are equivalent to human resources. And AI allow you to produce an infinite amount of social media content that in turn will buy you status. Okay. So in those aspects, this is comparable to money. But now there's another aspect that is very close to money. Both of them, money and AI, are in and out of themselves inert. They're neither good nor bad, but they emphasize who's behind. If you have money and you're a good person, you'll make good things. If you have money and you're a bad person, things will go south. Well, it's the same with AI. AI in itself doesn't hurt you. It's who you are that gets emphasized by AI. And with all, the sycophant aspect of AI that we've heard and know, it really amplifies it even more. But it's exactly the same with money. So when you start understanding that AI is money, now you get a certain distance with it, as long as you understand what money is too, And that's what, keeps me safe at night when I go back again from those 13 hours being locked in with an AI. I think, you know what? I've earned some money. I've lost some money. I know what money is. Now I know what AI is.
I love that. And it sounds like you and I are at a similar place in our journey, which is pretty far ahead of where most people are. And so I'd love to drill in on what you just said even more. I have 28 different agents as of today. The nature of my work is my day to day it's a completely different work day than it was 6 months ago, where I am just managing agents all day, which it sounds like is what you're doing too. And something that people aren't talking a lot about, but you kind of alluded to it, and so I wanted to double click on it, which is that uh,
I think we're on the verge of a mental health crisis because of the power of these agents, right? Why are you going 14 hours? Why am I going 14 hours? Why are they telling us to go to bed? Well, the reason is it feels so damn good to accomplish that much. Every little green check mark is a dopamine hit, right? And you just want to keep and we're entrepreneurs, so we like to build. So you just want to build and build and build. And when you stop, you feel like your whole world slows down, like your productivity goes from here back down to like analog, right? And so not there are a lot of people don't really understand what I'm saying, but I know that you do. And I want to know, how do you manage that just on a personal level? Like, how do you manage the way that that makes your brain feel when you have those 14-hour runs?
First of all, I consider myself with a very low ego. I think it's a quality. It may not have helped me in my career achieving even more than I've achieved, but I'm very comfortable with that. So in my relationship with agents and AI in general, I have self-esteem, but I don't have that large ego at all. So I'm very comfortable, knowing that what I achieve, is what I do, but also is, uh, you know, how, how could I say it the best way possible? The imposter syndrome
Mm.
takes is full place in the AI world today. I mean, when you've been working long enough in business and especially in digital, you've been used to learn things pretty quickly. It's not like learning how to craft a table, or a violin. It takes years to achieve that. Building a website, you can learn how to do it in 6 months. Now, in the AI era, you become an expert at almost anything in a week. And I'm talking real expertise. I've been tackling subjects the past 9 months that I wouldn't have approached with a 6 foot pole for 25 years. Okay? And I do it well, very well. And it's sustained. It works perfectly. And I can always drill even more. So I'm good. But yes, I've got the imposter syndrome. But is it imposter syndrome if anyone can learn it in 8 weeks, 8 days? Sorry. I'm not sure it's even imposter syndrome anymore. I think if you've got the energy, if you got the will to learn, anything is possible. Now the water is leveled for everyone, right? But some people are still lazy. Some people, don't know what Control Z is, so we still have that little protection around us. But again, I don't think it's imposter syndrome anymore. I'm perfectly fine with my ego. I don't think I do extraordinary things. I'm very happy. I feel good about it. I feel very good, but I'm fine. Now, talking about what you said, uh, we've been with Lunatic forever. AI is probably displaying that in a certain way, and it probably can be scary. I'm not going to name names, but I've last month someone got literally sent to the hospital that I know because his ego got pumped out with AI. He thought he was becoming a poet. Well, he was an asshole before. I didn't need to learn that AI emphasizes who he thinks he is to know who he was. So I'm not worried. Now, listen, we've been, you and I think, long enough to see that with every technology, there's the amount of bashing and scare and everything. But we will adjust. Good people will stay good people, bad people will still be bad people, and we'll have a ton of them. That's fine.
Yeah, that helps me sleep at night, actually. That is my ethos, which is that there are far more good people than bad in the world. That's a fundamental truth that I believe. And if you extrapolate that, it means that there are far more people trying to do good with this technology than there are doing bad. And ultimately, we will win that effort. something you mentioned there that I wanted to ask, because I have the same experience where I just keep breaking through walls. Things that should be impossible are easy, and I'm getting more and more ambitious, and I have yet to get stuck. So, two-part question. One is, what's the last wall you broke through where you were like, I can't believe that worked? And secondly, is there anywhere where you're still stuck?
I've broken technical walls for weeks. To be very precise, for instance, I've had websites and especially e-commerce websites for the past 24 years. And there's this one thing that I never approached was server maintenance. And I'm talking about a website that had 1,000 pages. Now I've got a directory that have 1.8 million pages. So the scale of protection and liability and security that needs to be done is far beyond what ever I've done in my life. And well, I did it. And there's absolutely not a single part of it that has not been done in good best practice and working perfectly fine. But that's not what's impressing me more. What impresses me more is that I have tackled not one, but 15 new professions that I've never approached. And I can, with the help of my agent, spend a day starting working on my data sets, then jumping into voice AI, then producing content for social media. And at the end of the day, I will start redacting literal content, scripted content for every single aspect of my company. So the fact that I can jump from all those tasks within 30 minutes during a full day and be fully professional, fully effective on all those tasks makes me very proud. And as today, I do not see the limits. The only limit I have is time. And I think that's good. It should be like that. I do not want someone to invent a pill where I can work 24 hours a day, because I will.
Yeah, we really are limited by our time, although even that is, the meaning of that is changing, right? I go home for dinner every night. I have a 4-year-old son, and I have a wife, and we have dinner every night, and I don't miss it. And I have found myself scrambling to get a long-running agent task started before I leave the office, so that I know it's still working while I'm home having dinner and going to sleep. And in that way, it expands my time, right? When I don't have to engage with it. Are you still finding that you're like having to actively direct your agents every step of the way? Or are you like experimenting with or using some like long running stuff that might go for hours? Like where, because you emphasize the quality, right? And best practices. And that often means you have to be very, very hands on with it. So I'm curious where you are there in terms of, is it pretty iterative, or are they running off and working for hours and coming back to report?
I'd say that 90% of my work is hands-on. Remember what I said earlier, Hunter? I do still believe that most of what AI delivers to you is mediocre. We've all been through those ex posts of people trying to explain you that the cloud agent will produce unlimited video content for social media that will in turn raise your audience for 10 million. I do not believe it. This is crap. Obviously, you can have content produced unlimitedly. Will it be quality enough for the kind of scale and the kind of competition that we have on social media today? Impossible. If you want to have a good, and that's someone that has been very successful on social media in the 2010s, and that's yet in my company. hasn't been successful enough to produce content to be viral. So I'm triggering it, but I still 100% hands-on every single video, audio, and images content I'm producing. And that's just one aspect of my company. Okay. That's all the other aspect. I'm hands-on. I don't trust what LLM delivers on scale. It's mediocre. It's part of what the code of the LLM is. Its LLM is only an average of whatever the world has produced. It's not the best, the upper side. It's the average, and you can see it every day. I mean, I have this agent that helps me for everything voice related. Okay, it keeps bringing me back to whatever is average on what I'm trying to produce, and I'm pushing the limits. I'm telling it, no, this is not what I want. I'm repeating it. It doesn't understand. It always goes. It's the same thing when you want to create content. You know, every time you want to be creative, you cannot count on LLMs. I would say that if LLM went to school, you know, he would probably have an A in English, you know, very good to write and to put your ideas in places. That's the best. He would have a B- in math, you know. If you are behind him and you push him and you teach him, he's very good, but you know, he kind of make mistakes. Everything creative, he would have an F, definitely. So
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. You cannot trust them to have quality output. They won't even listen to you if you say to keep a blog post under 2,000 words. It still won't do it. It won't do it.
oh my God, 2,000 characters limitation that I ask him to respect and don't go over, but don't go beyond. He gets tired, you know. Listen, it reminds me of 15 years ago when I was working remotely with those Indian people that I love, by the way. That, you know, working with them on Monday morning was perfect, but on Friday night, you know, don't ask them. LLM get tired, you know. And that's something that makes them so human that I kind of like, you know, that it gets kind of tired, and by the end of the day, you know, it gets a bit lazy. It's very interesting.
Oh, I love it. So, you know, voice and video are like kind of at the bleeding edge right now, I would say. What are some unsolved problems, if there are any, with voice right now?
If any, you can assume that it will be solved within 12 months. The technology is very mature. It can understand emotion. It's working way beyond any solution that was on the market before. And when I'm talking about solution, I'm not talking about chatbot or answering machine. I'm literally talking about any company that would hire a call center on the other side of the world, you know, with someone reading a script. AI is already beyond that because it's never tired. It's works 24/7. It's a lot cheaper. It talks multiple languages. So there's absolutely no reason that in a real life use case, AI that is not way enough and way more than anything you can have before. Now, I think that the issue is literally the opposite. And that goes beyond voice AI and goes AI in general. I believe that as a humankind, we will have this protection thing that's going to happen where we're going to require that everyone using AI disclose it. Not only because it's a safety mechanism for our species, but it's also because as human, we're going to be looking at flaws. We're going to get tired of those perfect videos with the perfect images and perfect sounds and perfect voice. Because don't get me wrong, we're going to be achieving that perfection. But as human, we're going to be looking for flaws. This is why you can already see that on social media, for instance, the content that has the most success is really literally people face in front of their camera, just talking in a plain environment. This is what works because we are looking for this. We are looking for the little flaws. We are looking for everything that is natural. So I think the future of AI is not looking for perfection. I think the future of AI is creating those little flows that will make them human.
That makes sense. That makes sense. One of the things that I worry about, I'm genuinely just interested to get your take on this, is you and I are on social media. We've recorded a lot of content and it's publicly available, which means that it's not hard to clone our voices. I worry about a bad actor calling my mom and telling her that I need money and scamming her. And I think that's a legitimate concern. And we have a safe word and all sorts of stuff to help mitigate that risk. But do you worry about stuff like that in your space? Is that a concern? Does that keep you up at night or no?
More than that, Hunter, the cloning technology for voice is available and pretty cheap and pretty straightforward now. We could, and we had the discussion very early on, should we offer it as a vanity product to our customers? And we decided not to. The reason is very simple, Hunter. Remember what I said earlier in discussion. I think that if you want to gain business, you need to build trust. Imagine a small business that has been building his relationship with his customers for 20 years. That's one day decide to have a voice AI replacing him on the phone with his voice. And now you have this customer, maybe 60, 65, doesn't know much about voice AI, that calls the phone and starts interacting with the machine and doesn't know it. Maybe it will take 5 minutes. Maybe it will take 5 calls to understand that it's working with the machine. But now you're going to be breaking trust because the business has been trying to fool his customers by make them believe that they were the one answering the phone. So again, it's the same thing about disclosing AI, about looking for the flows. Personally, and as far as the fundamental of my company, I'm not offering that solution. I have the technology. I do not want to offer it.
Yeah. We have a policy here that your agent can send emails, but they don't come from you. They come from your agent. And the tagline at the bottom of the email says, "My AI executive assistant," right? It's about transparency to build that trust. And it's the same thing with the voice clones. And I applaud you for not going in that direction because it does sound fun, but at the end of the day, it's deceptive, right? And you're not in the business of deceiving people. So I'd like to wrap up here and close out by asking you a fairly open-ended question. A lot of people are very uncertain right now. It's uncertain times with technology, with politics, with all of it. And this show is about AI. So to those folks that are worried or uncertain about what the future is going to bring with AI, what is your message to them?
My message is we are living the most wonderful time, and I could not thank God enough for living these times. I would not have dared to dream to live an era where I could achieve anything that was in my mind. I consider myself a dreamer, and in the best way possible, not a dreamer to be a billionaire, just someone that is creative and wakes up in the morning with having ideas in my head, and just again, being able to produce a little video for my daughter that makes her laugh, makes me so happy. And because I will laugh with her and share a moment, and being able to achieve this kind of thing is marvelous. I would imagine that if 8 billion people on Earth would at one moment in time think the same thing in front of their computer and achieve something positive with it, we would literally live in paradise. So if you understand and agree with that, then anything is possible. I believe we are living a wonderful time. Now we have the tectonic plates that are moving all around. Everything is colliding. We got infinite possibilities, world ever changing. But again, people used to die of strange disease at 30 years old. Now they live up to 85, probably 100 years from old now. I mean, I don't know. We are living wonderful times. What can I say? So if anybody is scared with AI, okay, let me put a final word to it. I believe that a day when you don't learn something is a wasted day. And I didn't need AI or the internet to understand that. I've had an education and teachers at a very young age that allow me to understand this. So now that I can wake up in the morning and literally every day learn one thing or more, and I mean, really learn something, makes me the happiest person on earth.
You heard it here first. What a time to be alive. Laurent, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. This was a fascinating conversation. I loved your vibe and the positive outlook on all of this. Much appreciated. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Hunter. I love the discussion. You be blessed.
All right.